I took down my neighbor, but the justice system failed me. For years, I lived next to a neighbor who made my life a living nightmare. Let's call him Dave, though I'm sure he's earned far less polite nicknames from others in the area. Dave wasn't just a bad neighbor. He was the kind of person who seemed to thrive on chaos. He was a drug addict and dealer, and while I've always believed that what people do in their own time is their business, Dave made it everyone's problem. The issues started small but quickly escalated. Dave's friends, a rotating cast of shady characters, were constantly coming and going at all hours of the night. They'd ring my doorbell at 2 or 3 in the morning, looking for him. When I'd shout at them to leave, they'd just laugh or curse me out. It got to the point where I dreaded the sound of my own doorbell. But it wasn't just the noise. Dave's friends were responsible for a string of break-ins, car thefts, and stolen packages in the neighborhood. I knew it was connected to him because he'd actually admitted it once. He casually mentioned that his friends were the ones breaking into cars and stealing mail, as if it were no big deal. I even saw CCTV footage from another neighbor that clearly showed his crew vandalizing property. The worst part? Dave had been in and out of prison multiple times for some pretty serious crimes. You'd think he'd want to keep a low profile, but no. He seemed to enjoy flaunting his disregard for the law. We lived in a house that had been converted into 4 apartments, with a shared main entrance and a common area for mail. Dave would constantly leave the main door wide open, no matter how many times I asked him not to. His excuse was always the same: my friends need to come and go. But leaving the door unlocked meant that anyone could wander in, and they often did. I'd come home to find the common area trashed, with broken bottles and cigarette butts scattered everywhere. The final straw for me was the packages. I'd order something online, and if I wasn't home to receive it, the delivery drivers would just leave it in the front garden or the common area, despite my explicit instructions not to. Without fail, my packages would disappear within minutes. I knew it was Dave or one of his friends, but I could never prove it. One time, I even called the police after Dave left a note on my door apologizing for his friend stealing my package. Yes, he actually admitted it in writing. But even with that evidence, nothing happened. The police said they'd look into it, but Dave was back to his old tricks within days. I was fed up. I couldn't keep living like this, constantly looking over my shoulder and worrying about what Dave and his crew would do next, so I decided to take matters into my own hands. I bought a small, discreet camera and set it up in the common area. Then, I came up with a plan. I saved the boxes from some old packages, filled them with an apple and some plastic bags for weight, and placed them outside my door. It was a trap, and I didn't have to wait long for it to work. Within 5 minutes, one of Dave's friends showed up. He glanced around, grabbed the boxes, and walked off like he owned the place. What he didn't know was that the camera caught everything. Clear as day. I called the police immediately. When they arrived, they were impressed with my setup. Unfortunately, by the time they got there, the guy had already left the building, with what I'm sure were bags full of drugs to sell. The officers assured me they'd keep an eye out for him, but I wasn't holding my breath. A few weeks later, I got a call from the same officer. She asked if I was home and told me to open the door quickly and quietly. I did as she asked, and as soon as I stepped back inside, I saw something I'll never forget. About 15 plainclothes officers were hiding behind the wall, waiting to strike. Through the peephole, I watched as they stormed into Dave's apartment, kicked down his door, and arrested everyone inside. It was like something out of a movie. They seized boxes upon boxes of drugs, and it became clear that Dave's apartment had basically become a crack house. The best part? My camera caught the entire raid on video. I sent the footage to our landlord, and the police did the same. Within days, Dave was evicted. It's been a month now, and the difference is night and day. The common area is clean and quiet, and I haven't had a single package go missing. Dave's mail is still sitting in the mailbox, unclaimed, and I have to admit, I get a little joy every time I walk past it. The moral of the story? Keep your hands to yourself. If you're going to make life miserable for everyone around you, don't be surprised when karma comes knocking, or in this case, when 15 police officers come barging through your door. Update. Just when I thought the nightmare was over, I got wind of something I never imagined was possible. Dave was back. Here's what happened. After the raid, Dave was arrested and charged with drug possession and distribution. But thanks to a massive backlog in the prosecutor's office, something that's become all too common in California, his case kept getting delayed. Weeks turned into months, and because of overcrowding in the jail system, Dave was released on bail while awaiting trial. And then, to make matters worse, he used California's tenant-friendly laws to legally force his way back into his old apartment. Apparently, the eviction process hadn't been handled perfectly, and Dave hired a high-powered tenant attorney who used every loophole in the book to challenge the eviction. While I never learned how the trial went or whether it was appealed by the landlord, as it stands, Dave is back. It appears that there are some conditions that were demanded upon Dave by the court, like not engaging in illegal activity. But let's be real, Dave wasn't going to change. Within days of his return, the chaos started all over again. The door was left open, the noise returned, and I even caught one of his friends trying to steal another package. I called the police, but they said there was nothing they could do unless I had concrete evidence. It's infuriating. After everything I went through to get him out, the justice system just handed him a free pass to come back and make our lives miserable again. It feels like the system is designed to protect people like Dave, while the rest of us are left to deal with the fallout. Here's my moral of the story. Sometimes, even when you do everything right, the system works against you. But I'm not giving up. I've installed more cameras, documented every incident, and I'm working with the landlord to make sure Dave's next eviction sticks. If there's one thing I've learned from all of this, it's that you can't rely on the system to protect you. You have to be proactive, document everything, and never stop fighting for your peace of mind. Wish me luck.